So this class is going to be on what can be done with Linux. So first off, I'm going to do a brief overview of all the settings in Linux. These settings apply mostly to Ubuntu Linux, however they can be found in different places on different distributions. So there are two ways originally to access the settings in Ubuntu. The first one is the system settings down here. The second way, if that's gone, is up here in this gear menu to system settings. So we have three different categories here: personal, hardware, and system. The first one we're going to go over is personal. So first off, we have appearance. Now this is where you can change your wallpapers and the behavior of this Unity launcher here. If you want the Unity launcher to auto-hide, you just check this box here and it auto-hides. I, however, don't like that, so I'm going to set it off. So then back to the wallpapers. You have many different wallpapers here to choose from. But I'm not really a huge fan of all of these, so I want to add my own. So I click this little plus button here, and then I go down to my downloads folder where I downloaded a wallpaper. And there we go. Now that's my wallpaper. There are a few options here, such as center, scale, fill, and span. For instance, center will do this to the picture, and then this box here will set the colors on the outsides of the picture. So if I want that to be bright orange, I click that and hit select. Now those bars are bright orange. I found, however, that the zoom function works best. This zooms into the picture until it fills your screen. Another great feature is the span function. So if you have multiple monitors, this will make the background image span across all of the monitors. I'm only using one monitor right now, so that doesn't apply to me. So now down here we have our theme. Right now it's set to ambience. However, if I set it to radiance, you can see that the theme goes to a whiter theme. I like the default ambience, so I'm going to set it back to that. You can also add themes, and there's plenty of how-tos online to do that. So if I go back to all settings, now then we can go to brightness and lock. This sets how long the screen will be on when inactive. Right now I have mine set to the default 10 minutes, which is fine for me. And then this sets whether it locks, and this would mean that it requires a password to get back into the computer once it's been inactive for 10 minutes. This sets how long to wait before actually locking the screen. So for instance, if you set it to 3 minutes, then the screen would turn off in 10 minutes, and then 3 minutes after that it would lock. So I prefer to have it lock as soon as the screen turns off, and then you can set whether it requires your password or not. So then we have keyboard layout. This is where you can set up what layout you want your keyboard to be on different applications. As of right now, I'm using a US keyboard, so that works fine for me. Then we have language support. Here you can set up what language you speak and possible system enhancements to make it easier for you to use your computer. Right now I speak English, and that's set already, so I'm going to leave that the way it is. Now we have the privacy. First off, in privacy we have forget activities. This function basically deletes all the history of your computer for the past hour, day, week, all, and advanced. So basically what this means is your computer records what files you've accessed, what websites you've accessed, and what programs you've launched. So if you delete that history, it'll be as if you didn't do those things. So then we have files. So we can record and select not to record different files and what they've done. So we can set to not record the activity of certain files, as well as record activities of certain files. So right now I've got it set to the default, and that's fine for me. So then applications, you can set up applications that you don't want it to record activity for. And then diagnostics. This is basically sending crash data and that sort of thing to the developers of Ubuntu. This is generally a good idea to keep on because it makes the product better. is now Ubuntu 1. Ubuntu 1 is Ubuntu's cloud storage, and in a later video I'll show you how to set this up. For now, I'm just going to hit cancel. So now we have the hardware section. So first off, one of the most important is additional drivers. So if you click this, it'll search for any available drivers. If you have any hardware on your computer that does not have a correct driver, or has a proprietary driver from the company that made the hardware, it'll show up here. This is hardware such as video cards and wireless cards. Most of these are covered in the Linux kernel, however, if you do want to go to the proprietary drivers, they are here. Right now I have this Oracle VM VirtualBox Guest Editions. This is because I'm running in a virtual machine, so this is a driver that helps me run this system. Most of the time, if you're not having any problems, it's perfectly fine to stay away from the proprietary drivers. So for right now, I'm just going to close this because I have no new drivers. So here's your Bluetooth settings. It's relatively easy to set up a Bluetooth adapter, however, I don't have one set up right now. So I'm going to go back to all settings. Then we have color. Color is a way to set up your monitor to calibrate it to exact colors. This is usually not needed unless you're doing graphics design, in which case you probably already know what this is. Right now I've got unknown calibration, that's because I'm using a virtual machine, so I have a virtual monitor set up. So then we have displays. This is where you can set the resolution of your display. So the higher the resolution, the smaller the icons in general. As well as this is where you can also set your aspect ratio, such as 4:3 or 16:9. The rotation rotates your display. Right now I have it set to normal, and in most cases that's all you need. However, if your display had turned out upside down or rotated 90 degrees, this is where you would fix it. So then the launcher. This here is the Unity launcher, and that's what they're referring to when they say launcher placement. This means that the launcher is going to be on all of my displays. So if I had multiple displays, then the launcher would be on each display. That's not ideal for multiple displays, however on a single display it doesn't really matter. And then we have sticky edges. This basically makes it harder for you to move your cursor from one side of the screen to the next screen if you have multiple monitors. When you have a single monitor, this doesn't really affect anything. So I'm just going to hit apply. Now this comes up showing you that you have 30 seconds to accept the configuration. So if your monitor goes completely blank or you have an unusable video output, then just wait 30 seconds and it'll restore the original configuration. Right now I'm going to say keep this configuration. And I'm going to close this. So now we have keyboard. This is where the basic keyboard settings are. For now, this works great for me, however, if you're having troubles, I would go here. So then we have our shortcuts. So this is set up so that you can have keyboard shortcuts for your system. So for instance, if I wanted to change one of these, like open home folder, I would click it, and then hit the key combination that I wanted to open the home folder. In Linux, the Windows key is actually called the super key. When I want to open the home folder with Windows key H, I'm going to hit Windows key or super key and then H. You can see it said super H. That's because the Windows key is the super key. So now that I have that set up, I should be able to hit Windows H and have the home folder come up. And it did. So I'm going to close that. Now, one of the custom shortcuts I like to add is called the system monitor. Now, the command you're going to want to input here is GNOME system monitor. And those are all dashes between each word. There's no spaces. So then I'm going to click apply. As of right now, there's no key combination to do this, so I'm going to click it, and then I'm going to hit Control-Alt-Delete. Now it's asking me if I want to reassign Control-Alt-Delete. That's because Control-Alt-Delete was used for logout. As of right now, I want to use it for the system monitor, because this is what it was like in Windows, where you hit Control-Alt-Delete and it brings up the Task Manager. So I'm going to click Reassign. So now if I close this and hit Control-Alt-Delete, System Monitor now appears. That's great because it mimics the feel of Windows. So I'm going to close that now and go back into the settings. So then we have mouse and touchpad. This is your basic mouse and touchpad settings, just like in Windows. Right now these work great for me, so I'm going to go back to all settings. Next we have network. Right now I'm using a wired network at 1 gigabit per second, so everything was automatically set up for me. As well as this is a great place to go see your IP address, subnet mask, default route, and DNS information. If you are on a wireless network, it would also show a wireless network here. As of right now, I don't have a wireless adapter because I'm using a wired network. So I'm going to go back to all settings. To set up a wireless network, it's the same as setting up a wireless network on Windows, except it's up here. So normally it would come up as an empty half circle, and then you would click on this, and then it would show all the wireless networks around you. You'd click on yours and then enter the password. As of right now, again, I'm not using a wireless adapter, I'm using a wired connection, so that doesn't pertain to me.